I can show you 3 examples of 3 of these traditional arrangements. There are more arrangements than just these 3, but I think it'll make the point if we look at 3 arrangements. Okay? Time order or chronological order, it goes by either name, time or chronological. A second, space order. Third, order of importance. This example is arranged in time order, so the supporting details are put in arrangement of how they unfold in time. I've highlighted the transitions for you in yellow to help you follow when we're moving from one detail to the next detail. So what's the big idea first? The beginning of each school term marks a period of rebirth for college campuses. Fine, you told me something, now I need you to show, right? So 3, 4, 5, 6 supporting details need to show that main idea. First supporting detail. Before the term begins, the campus is strangely vacant and quiet. Then, so we're moving a little further in time here, then the students begin to move into the dorms, carrying suitcases, trunks, and boxes from their cars to their assigned rooms. Shouts of laughter, yells of greeting, and cries of excitement ring across the campus as students resume their interrupted relationships and establish new ones. Meanwhile, so that means at the same time but in a different place. Meanwhile, maintenance crews move busily around the campus, trimming, repairing, painting, and generally refurbishing the campus buildings. A few days later, teachers arrive, coming to their offices to plan for their classes. Finally, on the day classes begin, commuting students flood the campus, fighting for parking spaces and generally adding to the growing sense of confused activity. Back to the big idea, to use that as a concluding sentence. A new semester has begun and the campus is alive once more. There's a lot of detail crammed into that fairly short paragraph. But because the detail was arranged carefully, it's not so hard to follow through all that detail. I want you to see that we could take the exact same details and put them in a different arrangement. Maybe instead of putting them in time order like they are here, letting the passage of time determine what's going to go where in the paragraph, maybe we could put the same exact details in space order. Maybe I want to work my way from the east side of campus gradually further and further and further west until I'm all the way over on the far west side of campus. So there's a progression there that makes sense. It's not random, right? So maybe all the way over on the far east side of campus is a big commuters parking lot. So when I talk about commuting students, instead of it being at the very end of the paragraph like it was when it was in time order, now it's going to be the first supporting detail because it's the easternmost thing that I want to show. And then maybe the next thing as I move towards the west might be a group of dorms. So all of that detail about students moving into dorms, instead of being the first detail like it was with time order, now is going to be the second detail, right? So I can keep the same exact contents, but I'm just putting them into a different package, if you want to think of it that way, right? So this example, as we see it, is time order, but we could have easily revised this and put it into space order. Either one would be fine, right? And it doesn't have to be east to west. It could be near to far. It could be top to bottom, bottom to top, whatever seems to make sense for the content that you're discussing, okay? Here's an example, a simpler example of space order. The view from the front door was breathtaking. That's a main idea statement. That's a topic sentence that tells me something's true. Now you need to show me what's so breathtaking about this view. The way that these supporting details were arranged is very coherent. They start by showing the things you see close up, and then each detail is a little further away and a little further away and a little further away until the end we're looking miles and miles off onto the horizon. Immediately in front of the house to the west was a small dirt road. And beyond this road, see we've moved a little further away, the land dropped sharply so that the entire valley was visible. This broad valley was cut down the center by the Snake River, a curving blue-white scar across the pale green sagebrush that covered most of the valley. On the far side of the valley, Sandstone cliffs rose abruptly from the gently rolling valley floor. Now we're looking even beyond the far side of the valley. Rising above the cliffs were the distant mountains, majestic peaks crowned with snow and ice. So this coherent arrangement in space order was from near to far. We could have reversed that, right? Maybe we could have started with the mountains and gradually worked our way close up. If you're using space order, you want to try to predict how your average person would actually look at that kind of scene. You know that unless some poor person has a neurological disorder, we don't look at the objects in a room, for example, randomly. I wouldn't come into a room and look at the floor, then the wall, then the light switch, then the ceiling, then back to the wall, then the carpet, and I wouldn't just sort of jerk my head around randomly like a bird might, right? Human beings, our eyes tend to sweep. Your eyes tend to go to the focal point of the room first, and then they sweep along, maybe along the left wall or something like that, or you start from far away and your eyes sweep to the things closer to you. There's no one way of doing it. It depends on how the room is arranged and where the focal point of the room is. But there is a progression. That's what you want to imitate on the page. If you just randomly sprinkled your details in there, it would be like you're kind of jerking the reader's eyes around, saying, look at this, then look at that, then look at this, then look at that, right? And people won't put up with being jerked around like that, right? You want it to feel natural. You want it to the reader to feel like they're actually there at the scene looking at these things, right? And their eyes are moving as they naturally would. So that's something to keep in mind with space order. Pardon the interruption. One last quick example of a traditional pattern of arrangement, and this one's very simple, putting the details in the order of importance, maybe from the most important to the least important or vice versa. When we move to essay organization, I'll give you a lot more guidance on how you can make these decisions about how, but we'll just keep it very simple for right now, okay? I'll let you read this very short paragraph to yourself, but you'll notice that it moves from the least important to the most important. Notice how the transitions tell the reader how the details were arranged.